She was 7 years in business, and she talked about trudging in the trenches, and that in the first couple of years of business, she trudged, and it really felt like her shoes were stuck in the muck and the mud. And it was hard. And it was the days like you want to give up, you want to let it all go. But she just kept picking up her feet and putting it down in front of her.
It's time to reinvent.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Kitchen. Today I have a very exciting guest for you. I have Alison Mullins, and Alison has over 20 years of experience in sales. She is the founder of Rep Methods, which assists small business owners to do sales training and business development. Wow, that's what we need. That's what we need right now. Alison, please tell me who you are, what's your mission, how you got started in all of this.
Sure thing, Priscilla. Thank you again for inviting me on. So I think I've always had a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit for sure. I've been in sales most of my life, even as far back as a child in the bathroom, looking in the mirror and trying to sell shampoo and hairspray to myself. I got into construction materials back in 2010. I had started my career in apparel and fashion, but fast forward many years later, I found myself very good at what I did. So that's working in stone and surfaces for exteriors, interiors, wall cladding, flooring, countertops were a big, huge part of my career. So the kitchen and bath industry. And along that journey, I got some little God nudges, right? People asking me for help, people saying, can you train my salespeople? I want my people to be able to do what you do. Where did you get all that knowledge? You have so much experience, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't really believe in myself, actually, I think for a very long time that I could teach others. And in the fall of 2022, I found myself searching for the next steps. And I had been praying a lot to my spiritual advisor and higher power, seeking guidance on what are the next steps. And I got the message. And one morning, just over coffee, I started writing a business plan and came up with the name instantaneously, Rep Methods. I've been a sales rep for many years. And the process began. So here we are, just a few years later, still very young, but doing quite well.
Thank you for that. I think a lot of people will see themselves in your journey. Sometimes they're wondering, what should I do? And people keep asking you for the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So
Maybe you should do that.
maybe you should do that. It's easier when it's somebody else. When it's yourself, it's harder for you to see things.
I think we're all guilty of just like being behind the wheel of the car, right? Just driving down the road, and we only see what's in front of us sometimes. And we don't necessarily always look in the rear view. We don't necessarily check our side mirrors, and we don't necessarily ask for advice from our peers and our surroundings. In my experience, for me, I was really seeking guidance from a spiritual path perspective. How do I continue on this journey in a healthy manner? How do I take away some of my own addictions, if you will? So workaholic-isms and fixations. And I felt myself being in sales for so long, but in a very frenzy type of manner. And no amount of money was ever good enough. I was making really great money. And I also didn't really want to be on that cycle. I felt like that was a very unhealthy cycle to continue. And I wanted to be able to continue to do what I love, but in a way that I could also give back to the universe. And now, topic of conversation, like just today, I was actually recording another session with a radio show, and I had a client, a coaching client. This all came up. The future generations are going to need people like me and people like you and guidance like this, because on this path that we're on with a very computer generated script and a lot of AI and bot sales and just really no human interaction, I think that in just a few short years, people are really going to start craving old-fashioned sales methods and in-person selling and even door-to-door sales. People are probably going to thrive again because the human race is just going to want that human interaction that we've been missing.
It's so interesting that you say that because even now we're beginning to feel it, especially because we're in the industry. I think we feel it first before
Maybe.
everybody else does. And we begin to feel all that overwhelm of the AI and just there's no personal touch. It's just a computer response to everything, an automatic generated thing to everything.
Just in 2 years, I've had to pivot a lot of even my coaching conversation. And I use AI myself. Don't get me wrong, like Chat GPT, the invention of this virtual assistant that can do mathematic equations and spreadsheets for me in no time at all is a gift. And as an entrepreneur, I need an extra hand around here. So I'm not knocking that system, but I've really had to transmit the message about personalization and pausing and don't just copy and paste. And we have to really think about this and refining that message with an ask and with an intention and with a problem to solve.
Yeah, I think that's important to say. It's going to take you ages trying to add everything
Yeah.
yourself. You need the calculator, but you also need to know why you're doing what you're doing. And if it comes to things like your voice and your
Yes.
message and your mission, you want to be sure that it's in line with who you are and it's not some automated generated thing that is being generated for everyone because everyone is using it.
Mhm.
So that's a differentiator. It's a very interesting space that we're going to see people begin to talk about differently as we go forward. Now, I know you've got a new book out,
Yes.
Beyond Order Makers. What does
Yeah.
that mean? Give us the premise.
My first book was called The Art of Selling. We make order makers, not order takers. And that motto is now trademarked. I am actually patented on that phrase, and my brand is patented there. So the order maker is the person who is a proactive salesperson and who really looks at the bigger picture in how to generate sales. So the beyond order makers, it's not necessarily part two, but it is the entrepreneurial perspective on order making. So, beyond order making, when we're business owners, we have to understand branding, visual perspectives of our business, target marketing, CRM systems, data processing, the human centric methods of selling, like time management, and actually giving yourself the space to do prospecting and to do sales. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you're wearing all of the hats. So each section of that book really breaks down the core components in owning a business and wanting to sell. And a lot of maybe salespeople start businesses, but a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs are people who just have great ideas and they aren't necessarily excelling at the sales part. So I feel like I give a lot of nods and tips on how to pull that into a successful package. Oh, and my final chapter, which is manifesting sales, which I know for a fact is my idea. You can Google manifesting sales and you will not find any AI articles or things written unless it started with me in this book. So, very proud of that as well.
That's really exciting. You really speak to the problem that I see. Like you said, a lot of people are experts in something. And that's wonderful. That's great. It's a great starting point. The problem is they think that just because they're experts, people will come knocking on their door.
Yes, exactly. And you know what? You just hit it on the head with they think people will come knocking on their door. That's not how sales work. If you sit around waiting for someone to come to you, listen, maybe if you're Elon Musk or Bill Gates and you've got this miraculous product and it's already well branded and marketed and it's out there and people know it by name, then yeah, people might come and knock on your door, but not from ground zero, not from square one.
That's such an important thing. Sometimes I think because you're coming from corporate, what you do, your expertise speaks for you. And now as an
Mhm.
entrepreneur, you've got to go out there and make the sales. To that person who's been sitting around looking at a calendar that has nothing happening on it and is wondering, maybe I should go back to my regular job. I'm giving this 2 more months because I've heard that a lot. I'm giving this two
Yeah.
more months, and if I don't get a client, I'm going back to my regular job. What would you say to that person?
Read Beyond Order Makers. I truly believe it will help you tremendously get off the couch and start with a plan. Remember that energy that you had when you had this big idea. And remember how good it felt when you knew that this big idea of yours was going to change somebody's life, somebody's world. And you knew that all it would take is for people to find out about this big thing that you had to offer. If you could package all of that energy up into the actionable steps that it takes to build a pipeline and to go out and get sales, then you'll be successful.
So well said,
Thank
Allison.
you.
I'm excited for this. You also speak about the magic for building a sustainable business. I wonder for the person we're talking about before who's okay, I've got to now package this energy and go out there and get sales. How am I going to build a sustainable business? Like, just an overview.
I think I would push that question back on you a little bit. In your mind, what do you feel is sustainable?
Something that doesn't burn you out, something
Yes.
that's not going to take up
Yes.
110% of your life.
That's right. So for me, sustainable business at my core, I'm a hustler, right? This isn't my only company. I've always had, not always, but since 2016, I had a small ad hoc marketing a la carte, like hustler's nature of marketing, meaning I'll build a website here, or I'll shoot a video over there, or I'll do production over here, create some flyer over here. So having a little bit of that hustler mentality of take work when it comes and what comes for you, and being able to accept that type of I'll do anything, right, to get this going. But I think even more important than that, it's that long-term mindset. So when I got started early on, I was listening to a TED Talk or a podcast. I don't even remember who was the speaker, but what was so memorable for me is that she talked about she was 7 years in business, and she talked about trudging in the trenches. And that in the first couple of years of business, she trudged and it really felt like her shoes were stuck in the muck and the mud. And it was hard. And it was the days like you want to give up, you want to let it all go. But she just kept picking up her feet and putting it down in front of her. So one step in front of the other. And at that moment for me, when I was getting started, it resonated 100% clear. And it was like, okay, commit, commit to being on a long-term goal, long-term business. I'm in the long game, right? I am going to have to do what I have to do today to make ends meet, to keep the roof over my head, to keep paying my mortgage, to keep paying my bills. I've invested this money in this business. But if that means that I have to go out and get a part-time job in the interim while I'm building this thing, then that's what I have to do, right? We don't just turn the lights on with the business and just the money starts pouring in. It doesn't work that way. So for me, sustainable business means long game commitment, being ingrained in the long game and doing what I have to do in the meantime allowed me the chance to let things gradually build and grow. And was it an overnight success? Absolutely not. But here I am in year 3. People are finding my business without me having to do crazy door knocking and sales efforts at the same time. It just keeps growing. The muck that I've been stepping in gets a little shallower and shallower the longer that I just stay true to my original plan.
Thank you for that. Those are such wise words because that expectation that in 3 months, if this doesn't work out, then it means
I hate to say you, but if that's the mentality that someone has going into entrepreneurial, 3 months ain't gonna cut it, brother or sister. I hate to tell you, but you have to be willing to give yourself 2 years, if not 3, for you to really reap the rewards of what you have going on. One of the smartest entrepreneurs I ever met was a young lady here in Richmond, Virginia, who had a really nice corporate job, a big banking company. don't need to mention the names, but she was very secure in that salary, but she had a dream and she had a vision. And she worked double down, double hard while she stayed employed to start putting the pillars in place before she left that job. And yes, she had some money to invest. And yes, she eventually also found a partner to invest. But all those little baby steps of what she needed to do to prepare, those the stepping stones were put in place long before she quit her corporate job. And for me, in my lowly existence, I happened to have had a great sales career and I had a boatload of savings. So I needed that security and that padding before I could ever launch into something else and build where I was going to go. And I'm not afraid to admit that even with money in the bank, investing in a new business, I was still out waiting tables, helping others in the community, volunteering where I could, making money on the side, maybe doing some ad hoc accounting for a friend or marketing jobs here or there, because that's the hustler's mentality. And I think those of us who are going to survive, we're going to scrap our way through the tough times and survive.
I think that's really going to help a lot of people because of the way entrepreneurship is marketed today. This course will give you $100,000 and it's giving someone who may be an outsider into the world of entrepreneurship this expectation that this is the solution to everything. I'm not saying the courses are bad, they're good, but it's one step in building you up. You've actually got to build yourself up.
In fact, the courses and the people who are out there, what is the gentleman's name? Not Gordon Ramsay. I can't even remember, but he talks about the 10X. Grant Cardone. That's who it is. So Grant Cardone has these free things that he gives away. You know what? I used one of Grant Cardone's original 10X courses to write part of my business plan. It was the brainstorming, the visualization of taking some of those people's courses that helped me get plan together. But they're not going to make me any money. And some of those educational resources that are out there, they're there to help you find cracks in your plan. I would say take advice anywhere you can get it. Ask a million people to read your business plan, to read your ideas. Go talk to a banker friend. Go talk to a teacher friend. Go talk to somebody who's in sales, who has been doing this for a while, and ask them about your pricing structure. There's never enough voices that can help you build better.
It's true that seeking out that wise counsel. And I also took one of Grant Cardone's 10X. And let me tell you, it was good. It was really good. It was really good. And it helped me to level up in my thinking.
Yeah. And it helped me to, you said it best with level up, but think bigger and think broader perspective. Instead of, again, for me, and maybe I can't speak to everybody, but I'm like the windshield straight ahead driver. I don't always see what's coming from left or right. I'm also the person who learns from my mistakes. And 9 times out of 10, I have to make mistakes before I learn because I'm just that bullheaded. And so at the same time, be willing to fail a little bit. That was one of my posts recently on LinkedIn. Failure is nothing but foundation, if you would think about it, because it's those little failures or maybe things that didn't work out. Those are the ones who might actually be showing you the next step that you're supposed to take.
That's so true. Because in the beginning, I have to tell you, I was so afraid of just, this has to work. Because I had that education mindset where it's like, you have to get an A. And if you put in the work, it's got to be an A. That's the mindset that I had. And now only through learning to accept failure, then I'm like, I ask myself, let's try it differently. What if it doesn't work? So what if it doesn't work? Maybe we'll know why it didn't work. And that's really valuable too. And just shifting that to learning from everything. And then it becomes exciting. It becomes exciting and it doesn't become this like really fearful, if I do this and this doesn't work, try it.
One of my best selling monetization programs that I have is my one-on-one coaching. I already had the workshops. I already had the seminars and I had the boot camp idea. That was the original 3 products that I would sell. And I got to tell you that I had a brand strategy coach. I talk about her in Beyond Order Makers. And I worked with a company that taught me more about SEO, that taught me more about building things from the inside of the website that could help me grow further, and monetization packages, and helped me look at the overall revenue stream and the plans for scaling. And like scaling, it's such an overused word right now. Like everybody wants to scale. But the truth is that without listening and actually investing in that coach early on, I would never have even gotten to the coaching part of my program. And it was by listening to them and someone suggesting, like, hey, you should do this or you should add this on. And then turns out that was actually the click in the cog that needed to happen and a huge revenue maker for me.
So many things that are good there. The mentor, the coach, the outside information, and then applying it, actually taking it and applying it to what you're doing. I wonder because I know that a lot of people are going to tune in once they see sales. So I can't leave them without you giving us some tactical things because you know how people are about sales. I'm sure you encounter it all the time. They probably ask you, tell me the quickest way to make some sales.
Yeah. Again, for your audience, my book number 2, Beyond Order Makers, is perfect for you. And I would say tip number 1 is being a business owner. You can get caught up in so many things. You have got to time block prospecting and target marketing. You have to. You do it now. I don't care what anybody out there might say. Stop and go look at your calendar and ask yourself in the last week, when did you stop and actually spend 2 to 3 hours a week looking for new business? That's not social media. That's not sending emails. Actually refining your approach and looking for new business. So that would be tip number 1, because it's not going to fall in your lap. You got to go out there and get it. You got to start having some conversation. Tip number 2. So I heard today from one of my other coaching clients. I have a lot of coaching calls on Mondays, but one of my clients said to me, she said, I hate the word follow-up. It makes me laugh because I actually love the word follow-up, because if you're really into sales, you're not going to let somebody go. Some people might have described me in my old days as a bulldog in some cases. Like, once I get a hold of you, I'm not going to let go. That's not true to a degree. We'll let go. But in the meantime, we've talked about it already, the importance of human connection. Stop sending emails and thinking that is going to get you somewhere. If you don't actually research, find a phone number, and be a human and reach out, and then when they don't answer because they think you're spam, actually leave them a voicemail. Let them know you're human and that you have something to offer them that solves a problem. And then when they still don't call you back from the voicemail, do it again. Sorry to talk very childish. I don't mean it in that way. But truthfully, in this day and age, I think that people think that once is enough. I'm going to reach out to this person one time. And it just doesn't work that way. But trust me when I tell you that when you introduce yourself first in an email, which is fine, follow up with a phone call, you may not get a response, and you follow up again with another phone call a few weeks later, you're going to get them at some point, and they know who you are at this point. So you might run into that person at a conference, especially if you go to those things and you do networking. You might run into them 6 months down the road, and you might get a sale from all that effort that you made, because trust me, at that point, they know who you are.
Sometimes when you're prospecting, you forget that, yes, you feel like you're prospecting to a lot of people, but to
Yes.
them, they're going to remember you because
Just one person.
you're just one person.
They're just one person.
So good. Tell us a little bit about Rep Methods and
Sure.
how you help people.
Absolutely. And also, I have to put this in there. I'm not sure when this is going to air. And I know you're also in another country, but I have a passion project. It's always been about empowering our youth and bringing up future generations with an in-person touch, the way that I love to sell. I'm actually having my first ticketed event this September in Richmond, Virginia. And I've also partnered with one of my local school systems, Rico County. They have a continuing education program. And because I'm in construction materials, which we didn't get a whole lot into, but it's a very male dominated industry, but it's also an industry where you don't need a college degree. I'm training salespeople from my community of surfaces and materials and windows and doors and floors and interior design and kitchen and bath and home remodeling and contractors. All of those people can send their salespeople, but we're also giving a chance for high school students to come for free. And then we're matchmaking them with local companies and getting them into internships where hopefully they can become gainfully employed once they graduate high school. And this is something that I will now be repeating biannually, so September and May every year. And then hopefully within 2 years, the scale for me is to repeat this in other cities and to be able to pull very quickly groups of our same community in this city or that city and partner with other school systems and show people how to repeat this in their own market.
Wow, that's exciting. That's
It
really
is
exciting.
exciting.
You know, you just made me think of how I get so impressed every time I meet a teenager who actually looks you in the face and says good morning or whatever. It's such an odd thing, but I know that what you're teaching them is going to change the way that their future careers and how they are perceived by people. It's such a lost thing, that human interaction. You pass teenagers everywhere, they don't look at you, they don't talk to
I don't know
you.
how to do anything with this.
Yes. And you get impressed by a simple look in the face and a good morning. Can you believe that?
I know. And my God, if they shake your hand, you just want to cry.
Check.
Oh, trust me. I know. I know. I'm on the cusp of doing this for my community regardless, right? I'm doing this no matter what happens in the next 5, 10 years, because I do think that we can train people for positions that don't need college degrees and that there's lots of personalities that will be able to start their careers finally right out of high school and not have to go to a fancy 4-year school. Wish me luck.
I'm sure it'll be a huge success, and where better to start than with sales. So I think you'll be on the right track. Thank you
Thank you.
so much, Allison. I'm so thankful for your time. Please just quickly tell me, what are you excited about looking out to the future for yourself personally? You've mentioned this project, and then as you look out into the marketplace.
In the marketplace, I don't know if this will resonate with your audience, but I am excited about a resurgence in natural stone and building materials. We had seen a wane towards engineered surfaces for a really long time. And of course, those things do still exist, but I still partner with quarries all over the world, and I work with a quarry in Italy. Even despite our tariff situation here in the United States, I do think that we're finally going to get back on track in the next year or so with building and constructions and real estate market rates. For me professionally, if I can keep doing what I'm doing with small businesses, and then I can also make a direct impact within my local construction materials community, I can die happy.
Thank you for that, Allison. Please, to the audience, if you can go to repmethods.com, you can learn more about Allison and what she's doing there. And also, Allison, if you can let me know, I know you mentioned LinkedIn. Is that where you're primarily active?
I'd say I'm active in Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then through my monthly newsletter. So I would love your followers to subscribe to my monthly newsletter. I only send out one. I will not bombard your email inbox, but you can keep up with other podcasts, event details, what we're doing to help workforce development in the construction community. We have a girls' camp coming up this summer. So I just keep people in the news of what's happening, and one a month. So if you can visit www.repmethods.com, and it's right there on the homepage, sign up to subscribe to the newsletter.
Thank you so much, Allison. It's been a pleasure knowing what you're doing and the bigger things that are coming your way. And it will be good to catch up again and hear where you are with all of that. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Priscilla. Have a wonderful day.